Hello and welcome again. Thanks for joining us for our third session in the Indiana Diploma series. We kicked things off last month with an overview of the diploma changes. Michelle Clark from the DOE joined us for that one. And then our second webinar in the series was regarding the Enrollment Readiness Seal. If you missed either one of those, they were recorded and they are available now on demand in our Counselor Connect library, which is linked actually a little bit later on towards the end of the presentation if you want to access that. Today's session will also be recorded, so if you have to leave early or if you want to go back and revisit any of the information shared today, you can certainly do that as well. We do have a couple of folks who are maybe going to be trying to monitor the chat a little bit today. We know questions may come up. We may not be able to answer all of those questions today, but we will surely pass those questions on, and hopefully we'll be able to get some responses to anything that we don't have the answers for today. So we are excited to welcome two guest presenters. We have Jody French from Perry Central Junior Senior High School and Apryl Kidd. She's the director of the collaboration of Shoals, Mitchell, and Orleans schools, or I think you call it, what do you call it? Cosmos for short. I will, if you either of you want to say anything more about yourselves as you start your slide decks, that would be great. But I think Apryl is kicking things off for us. So Apryl, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to you and you can get started. Actually, sorry, let me back up. These first two slides are, these are actually from our previous presentation when we did the overview. So they are DOE slides, but this is just a reminder of the new employment requirements in case you need to revisit this information. Now it's Apryl. Sorry about that.
Thank you. So I'm going to start off because I'm not for sure everyone's knowledge of our collaboration, and then I'll jump into our special program at Orleans. So Cosmos is the collaboration of Shoals, Mitchell, and Orleans schools. Those three districts live in three separate counties in southern Indiana and happen to be the smallest district in each one of those counties. And so that was really our reason for collaborating together. We really focus on career and technical education and how we provide real world experiences for our students that's aligned with our regional needs. In addition, we manage a portfolio around STEM education and project-based learning. And so all of those come together and I get the great opportunity to help those three districts strive for those goals. I'll let you go ahead to the next slide. So Bulldog Manufacturing is one of those programs that's an outcome of our CTE that's happening at Orleans High School. So Bulldog Manufacturing is a student-run business, but so much more than that. So I'm excited to share with you today all of the nuances of that and ways that it could be scaled to happen in your districts. So Bulldog Manufacturing is a student-run business that has embedded dual credit and certification opportunities aligned to the automation and robotics next level program of study. There's opportunities for students to engage with employer partners throughout the entire pathway. And our instructor does a great job of creating an environment and a culture where it's all classes, one team, and that team is Bulldog Manufacturing. And we have a student advisory team that has leaders from all of those classes funneling in and helping make decisions, networking with industry partners also to decide what equipment to purchase, what opportunities students want to engage in. So one class or 6 classes, one team is Bulldog Manufacturing. So to kind of level set, you're going to get to hear from Jody later about their programming happening at Perry Central, but I was fortunate enough to go visit them right when we were starting our programming. So wanting to share, right, because we're all in this together and in different places as we're moving into implementing the new diplomas. So I'll let you go ahead to our next slide, which is our timeline. So for Bulldog Manufacturing, and that program was launched in the 2021-2022 school year. We spent that year launching engineering, which is something we're still offering today, the design technology pathway, and then construction trades based on the teacher's licensure. We felt like that was the place to go. Quickly pivoted, and you'll see that later here. Embedded in dual credit for the engineering and design technology pathway. Moving then into the 22-23 school year, the instructor worked very closely with industry to begin developing the curriculum. setting a clear vision for the program. Later at the end of that school year, and so the summertime, we were a recipient of the 3E grant, and we're able to leverage funds to update our space. So at our next couple of slides, I have a few just updates around our space. So then the 23-24 school year, we spent time aligning our facility to industry. And you'll see those comparisons here in just a minute. And then present day, we are working on continuous improvement in the program, looking for program evaluation, getting feedback from all of our stakeholders, students, employers, teachers, and really working to strengthen partnerships. So I'll let you go through you don't have to move too fast or too slow, but just a couple, the next are all photos, just so you can kind of see that transformation over time, right? So the classroom prior to the instructor's arrival had been used as an industrial arts classroom. And then the 2 years right before, it was an ag mechanic shop. And so you can go ahead through the next one too, just to kind of see the instructor came in to really a mess, right? And transform that space. Thankful for additional funding to be able to support and accelerate that timeline for us. Go ahead. Really wanting to align to industry need and equipment that students would be using in the workforce, right? This is a great example. If our instructor was here, he'd tell you the most recent purchase was that miter saw when he arrived. So that was about 25 years old and everything else was older. And so we knew there was safety and industry alignment that needed to happen in our space. So go ahead. So Bulldog Manufacturing present day is the design technology next level program of study and the automation and robotics. And you can kind of see how those both feed into the program. The students on the design side are eligible for dual credit in all 3 classes. And the advanced manufacturing has it in the principals class and then the final B class also. Go ahead. So you can kind of see how those break down. Students are eligible to earn the CAD certification from Ivy Tech through the design technology, and then the standalone FANUC robotic certification on the manufacturing side. A lot of the students find interest and kind of move in and out of both pathways. Most of our completing students in the design technology are really striving to earn that FANUC robot cert also. Our instructor, while these are not ones that are on the industry recognized certification list for graduation, our industry partners have really identified things that they want our students to have. And based on our instructors' experience also, they embed in OSHA 10, Lean Six Sigma, Lockout, Tagout, and 5S. And then that FANUC robot is on the list, but that one's also an opportunity for students. One thing I want to call out in this top photo, you can see students earning their certification, but for me, right, as the director of our collaboration, these courses are open to students from all 3 districts. So the top photo, right, you have 4 Orleans students earning the certification alongside 2 Mitchell students, but all in the same classroom, experiencing that together. So I'll let you go ahead to the next slide. So a big part of what we're doing is embedding in industry opportunities and connections with each class. So this class works on having different levels of involvement. Some of our industry partners are involved every step of the way. Some of them are generous to host an industry tour and to launch a project. And then others really just are participating in terms of a startup and advertising and potentially allowing a plant tour. So we have partners that are engaged at all levels. So one thing that the students do every year is host an open house and they invite industry partners from all over our area and some of the surrounding counties to come in and show what they're doing, right? They give a tour of their space. So that's kind of that middle picture there, inviting them in, letting students or teachers and industry understand better about what's happening in the program. And then that bottom picture is kind of an ever evolving wall. So at the end of their day, the students do a really great call to action in ways that industry partners can engage in their program. And one of those being kind of very easy entry is to be a sign up partner, right? And so they get a sign and that there's a $100 commitment from the industry partner to be a part of that. And then from that, right, the instructor then works with those partners I'll let you go to the next slide so you can kind of see that a little. Works with those industry partners to begin identifying projects and which ways and which classes they will work with. So you can kind of see where it says engineering or manufacturing 1, 2, or 3, those are aligned to principles A and B. That's just how the instructor references those for his students for ease. But so every class from principles all the way through concentrator, status, students are networking with employer partners, whether that's going out and taking tours. You see a picture there on the other side of an opportunity. So students went to do an industry tour at Apryl, came back, applied what they learned through their technical drawings and calling out specific anodizing on their technical drawings, and then brought those back to the company. They acted the process in there, and then they came up with these really cool dog tags that the students actually did the technical drawing and the call out for the special process on. But a really great partnership with them, right? So from an industry tour to a project that's embedded in, and so we can continue to grow that partnership along the way. Let's go ahead to the next slide for me. One of the largest partners that Bulldog Manufacturing works with is Jasper Group. And so they have a location in Du Bois County and in Orange County, probably one of the largest employers in Orange County and about 2 to 3 miles from the school. So, really great in proximity for students to be able to come out of the classroom into their space. So, they have a wide range of things from industry tours to a summer internship and everything in between. So, I wanted to definitely spend time talking about their summer internship. It is an opportunity for students in between their freshman and sophomore year, sophomore and junior year, and then upon graduation too. They have opportunities to have longer experiences in the summertime. Two roles are available there. So they have an engineering team role, which is kind of what you see on the top. And then the bottom picture is they are a 5S facility. And so students work with their lean team to go around and do audits throughout the facility, work on making sure that some of those things, even though that they seem simple, right? That there are things being sorted, organized, and kept clean. So they have a 5S position and they have the engineering team position. And then those same students get the opportunity to reapply. So we have students who are going to be going into their third summer of work with JSI in those different roles. And then one other project that all of our students get the opportunity to participate in is a desk project. So students spend, and I'll let you go to the next slide too. Yeah, so students in the principal's class spend 6 weeks going over to JSI. So the instructor, we are on block scheduling, and so the instructor has it set up for um, a day 1, 2, and 3 each week. And so on day 1 in the classroom, he is introducing certain things that they're looking for. Really, as he calls it, right, the theory they're going to see in industry. So it may be saw optimization, it might be CNC programming. Each week they see a different thing happening at the laminate plant. And then on day 2, they spend their class time going over to the facility. And these are kind of what you see in action here in the photos. Taking what they learned in the classroom and the theory and then applying that at their day. So it's a really great experience because JSI really has embraced this as a talent development strategy, and they really will slow down their process and pull the students over, engage with them, showing them exactly what they do on the day to day, how what they're learning in the classroom is applying to that. And then on day 3, so Fridays, our instructor meets with all students and then summarizes what they saw, right? Makes those really concrete connections. So I think that this is a great opportunity to talk about how JSI, right, has an opportunity for them to have summer, everyone in an interactive workplace experience, and they also do classroom visits. So I think it's continued networking with those industry partners and all at different levels. And so it's really great for us to have one partner that we can see all of the levels of work-based learning and engagement in. And then some partners, right, can see that and then begin to work towards that. Like I shared, right, we have the one partner who starts with an industry tour and then working on the project. And he was able to spend all day with us. And we took a tour of JSI on Monday with the class. So I think as long as your industry partners are willing to kind of meet you where you are and meet them where they are, this is something that can happen in your space. And I wanted, again, I know I showed our timeline, but I think that everyone right now is feeling how will we implement and what will things look like, but it can be done really in a short amount of time. I'm happy to answer any questions too, Amanda, but that's really, I think, all my slides that I have.
Thank you so much, Apryl, for sharing that. A lot of great work happening with your districts, so we appreciate that. If you do have questions for Apryl, if you want to go ahead and add those into the chat, and then we will go ahead and move into having Jody present her slides. And then at the end of the presentation, we know we may have some more general questions about the seal itself. So at the end, we'll open up for any kind of questions you have, whether those are for Apryl or Jody specifically, or regarding the seals, if that makes sense. So Jody, I will go ahead and I think this is your first slide. Oh, are you going to share your screen? Sorry, I need to unmute you, I think.
I think I got it. Sorry.
You got it? Okay.
Yes. Can everybody see my screen?
I cannot. I think am I still showing my screen?
I can
see
see
it.
Perry Central Community Schools.
And it's
Okay.
moving.
I don't know if that's you or me sharing, but maybe
Okay,
it's,
I think it's me. I think
It's Jody's, yeah.
That's okay.
it's
That's
not
great.
showing on mine for some weird reason. Okay. Take it away.
Well, yeah, thanks for having me here and allowing me to share. I'm Jody French, and I'm the principal at Perry Central. And I also have been a guidance counselor, and so I kind of feel like I understand a little bit about all these new diplomas and just all the changes and keeping track of everything. It's not an easy feat. So, but I can share with you some of the systems that we're using to do that work, and then I'll share some of our work-based learning opportunities as well. Just a little bit about Perry Central. We're a small school. We like to say we're in the middle of everywhere because it takes about an hour to get anywhere else. So we're a very small school. We're pre-K through 12 here, 42% free and reduced lunch. And we house all of our own CTE programming at Perry Central. So we do that because for equity and access to our students and where we're located, it just makes sense for us to do that. We offer several different ways to get work-based learning at Perry Central through our 12 career pathways that we have. All of our career pathways, like Apryl mentioned, are part of the next level programs of study. We align with as many dual credits as we possibly can and industry certifications. And like Apryl mentioned, we also we look at the state list, but we also use our industry partners to give us feedback on the types of certifications and experiences that they want their students to have. And we lean really heavily on that feedback. We offer, and I'm going to talk just a little bit about each of these. The types of work-based learning we offer are workplace challenges, school-based enterprises or work simulations, career-aligned internships, pre-apprenticeships, and then we do have the paperwork for DOL approved apprenticeships in a couple of our pathways. But honestly, the market is not for DOL approved apprenticeships, like at least here in Southern Indiana. So we don't do a lot with that. Kind of our entry level for our workplace is workplace challenges in a lot of our different classrooms. We even really try to get PBL or workplace challenges in our core content so that we can help. We're just always helping students have experiences with different types of careers and being able to apply their work to authentic opportunities. And that's really what we strive for everywhere. But basically what a workplace challenge is, if you're not familiar with that, it aligns itself well with the PBL Gold Star elements. And I know you all have know a little bit about those, except instead of the teacher coming up with an essential question and the community partner and all of that, the company actually comes up with a challenge that they are having in their industry. And so that community partner employer will come to school. They will talk about what they do in their workplace, and then they will give those students a challenge. Or sometimes it's a field trip to that company, and the kids can kind of see what the challenge is on the floor. And then they come back and they try to solve the problem. And the company doesn't really do anything else except like they're available through internet or through email. So they might give them some authentic feedback along the way, or students might have questions. And so they're communicating along the way, and then they present their final product back to the company. And those have been really great opportunities for us, and our students really enjoy those. So just one example of many that we've had here. We work with a company called Boston International. They're out of French Lick. And during COVID, they sell all those really fancy napkins that always have the pretty pictures on them, or they design all of those in French Lick, Indiana. And so they were using like a wire shelf. And during COVID, he couldn't get that shelving. And so he learned about our Commodore manufacturing program and our engineering program. And so he's like, can you guys build us a shelf that's knocked down? Here's here's the sizes, here's some examples, napkins, and create some different ways that we could present these napkins in the workplace. And actually their vendor in Germany said it couldn't be done. And so our students, we had the engineering teams, they designed several iterations of the shelves. And then our Commodore manufacturing team just cut them out and they put them together. And then they presented that back to the company. And this doesn't always happen like this, but now our Commodore manufacturing is the only vendor for these shelves for Boston International. But just without even that piece, just think about the engineering and the experiences that the students gained. And when they create something for somebody that's real, that's not for a grade, they really up their game. And so that's what we're trying to embed in our classrooms. It also helps, I know sometimes getting companies to kind of come on board, like we've been doing this work for a very, very, very long time, and we still feel like we're pulling people along. But that's just a great entryway to get them into your classrooms to see what kids can do, because a lot of times they don't think kids can do things, and they can do amazing things. And so it just opens the door for more opportunity. We also have school-based enterprises. We have a greenhouse operation, farm to school hydroponic lettuce. We're working on Commodore printing, and we have a diesel pathway. And so in our school-based enterprises, we have a professional skills rubric that we're using to give students feedback on, and that's part of that new diploma, communication, teamwork. And so that's kind of built into what they're doing every day. It's an in-house business, but it's still an authentic experience. What it does, the difference between, for me, a school-based enterprise and a workplace simulation is that the audience for a school-based enterprise is really your school community. A workplace simulation, the audience is really like a real vendor outside of Perry Central or outside of your school. So we're working on building out as many workplace simulations as we possibly can. We believe that these can be counted as internships or apprenticeships. So we're trying to build out seats here in our school so that we can expand the number of students that can earn that employment seal. So, for example, and a lot of in these programs, we have training plans that are you have to have for your internships and for your work-based learning experiences. In the code, it mentions some kind of an agreement, and that's our agreement, is our training plan. And I put a copy of that in the chat box if you want to see that. So all these programs have a training plan aligned to the students and their work. There's industry partnerships, and then we also use that professional skills rubric. So those opportunities here, a lot like Bulldog manufacturing, we have Commodore manufacturing, Commodore engineering, Commodore construction, and then we do internships for our seniors. So about 75% of our seniors will participate in an internship. They do not come to school on Wednesdays. They report directly to their internship placement on Wednesdays, and they are there for the entire day. And we started that out of necessity because we're so far from places. Like by the time you would drive somewhere, you would have to turn around, come home. But it's ended up working out beautifully. Our teachers are on board with it. The kids really like it, and our industry partners like it as well, because they have one day that they have a kid, so it feels more manageable, and then they can give them bigger tasks. And so that has been a win-win for us, just by accident. So these other programs, so this is Commodore manufacturing. Our students are vendors for outside companies. Our biggest employer is Wapaka Foundry, but we've worked for all the other companies that are on the list and a few others. Commodore manufacturing Wapaka Foundry is obviously a foundry, and they have these tools that basically they're consumables. So there's all the molten pots that they have to clean out every time. And so when they push that in there to clean out the pot, it melts. And so they throw it away. And so there's another company that has a majority of the contract. They have $1 million contract, and we have a very small percentage of that contract at Perry Central, but it's allowing our students to make product for another company. They pay us $6 for those plungers, and then those basket feet, I can't remember how much, but basically our students, they're in the advanced manufacturing pathway, the 3rd year. They're working in Commodore manufacturing, and we're adding capstone next year to it. And they're working there, and they're making depending on the number of kids in the class, $3,000 a semester. And so because we're paying them, and they're also going to work this summer. And so with the work that they're doing in the classroom and the work that they're doing in the summer for 2 summers, we can finagle and get that 650 hours. And then that's an opportunity that's here at Perry Central. And they don't have to be 18 to do that, because sometimes that gets to be a barrier. So that's just an example of how we're thinking about how we can take our school-based enterprises, ramp them up a notch to workplace simulation, and then build out apprenticeship models here. We work for our engineering is Commodore Engineering, and we make product they're not as lucrative. They don't make as much money in Commodore Engineering, but they do a lot of R&D for other companies. This is one example of many. ATTC is a local manufacturer. They ran out of these caps for their oil bins. The kids explain this much better than I do. And so they backward designed the caps. They started 3D printing them. And so they 3D print the caps for ATTC, and ATTC buys those from us. We make parts for Jasper Engines, and a lot of CES, which is the local surveying company. And then a lot of other local businesses have started to use our students for this work. And so that's been great, authentic experiences for students. For construction, we put together our engineering. Our engineering program actually helps with construction. They design the house. We build a manufactured home inside the building here at school in our shop. Our shop was designed to do that. And they build the entire house. It'll be 95% complete. And this is all for Habitat for Humanity. Habitat will provide all the materials for us, and they pay us $10,000 for labor. And so the engineering class also designs the house. So that's another way that we're kind of creating partnerships in-house. But the engineering students have to present their designs back to Habitat for Humanity, and they get that authentic feedback, and they've learned a lot about the design process. And then they learn a lot about, there's different language between construction people and engineering people. And, sometimes they get in arguments about what the prints actually say. And so that's been a really good experience for the kids too. But that's a partnership that we have, and many construction places build homes. And so this is not a new concept, except we do it here, and it helps us with our scheduling, and it helps us with transportation, and it gives us a lot more flexibility. We're starting to build out some, what you might call modern youth apprenticeships with local businesses too. But we're using summer hours. We're not to a point where kids can only come here 2 days a week. We're just not there yet. But an example is a Perry County Memorial Hospital. It's a pre-nursing apprenticeship. So students are taking that nursing pathway, and by the end of their junior year, they're earning their CNA. Again, some places have gotten rid of CNAs, but our community wants our kids to have those because they have a hard time finding people with that certification. So they're earning their CPR, their CNA, and dementia care in their junior year. They've hired 2 students this summer to work as a CNA all summer long. And so we're going to count all those hours. They'll have a training plan. They'll have all those pieces in place. Then the student will come back, and they will earn their CCMA certification the next year and continue to work for Perry County Memorial Hospital. And so we're able to get the 650 hours through this program. And And then my hope is I'm going to start working with colleges to make a really seamless transition to Ivy Tech or Vincennes so they can finish their RN. And with our early college program, they can finish an RN in 2 years. So that's an example of how we're getting that 650 hours. Education is kind of easy for all of us. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's our elementary is just down the hall. So I know transportation is always an issue. But we're working on taking that education pathway and developing that into an apprenticeship. We run summer school in the elementary, but mainly elementary education. But they can get extra hours in the summer that way through our through summer school. And we hire assistants anyway, so we hire them as the assistant, and we don't hire all of them. They have to go through an interview process. And so, but that's how we're trying to get more and more students that experience. And then I mentioned already about our advanced manufacturing apprenticeship. I know that one of the things that it's really overwhelming is like, how do you keep track of this for all your students? And I work in a small school. We have 90 kids, 90 kids in a class. And so it's a little bit easier for us, but we do have less people, less adults to kind of manage that. We all wear different hats. But we're really just thinking about this like a box two. So like you're keeping track of that now. We have the training plans. We're going to keep those all in a Google file. When students are out in workplace learning experiences, if it's a student that's more on that academic track and they're going to have to piece together hours to get the 75 hours, we're keeping track of that like an ICE, like we do ICE students. It's just going to be somewhere else. But and the other thing is nobody ever audited us about box two. And so we're going to do the right things and we're going to do the very best we can. But I've encouraged my people that are helping us we're not going to lose sleep about, getting it all exactly right, because moving in this direction is really what's best for kids and what's best for our community. And so we're just going to do that the very best that we can, and try to let go of worrying about, everything being perfect all the time. So that's all I have from Perry Central.
Thank you so much, Jody, for sharing. Again, really great and helpful information. We do have a couple of questions, I think, for you specifically in the chat. The most recent one you'll see down below, it's the last one there. Is Perry Central on block schedule? How do seniors miss every Wednesday?
Yeah, we're not on a block schedule. We're on a 7-period schedule. And just think back to your COVID days. They, sometimes teachers will post assignments. Teachers know that seniors are going to be out of the building, so they don't do new work. And we really try to be mindful about what classes, especially if they're in that academic part, what classes that they still have left to take. So if they have a lot of AP courses, then we're going to really think about making their internship look differently, but that's just 1 or 2 students. So they can still get the rigor and they can still miss a day of school.
And kind of to piggyback on that, the other question for you was your students only attend internship on Wednesdays. Does that allow them to meet the required internship hours?
Yeah, it's 7 hours a day, 7 hours a week. And so that's plenty of 75 hours is all they really have to have. And so we're doing fine there.
Okay. Thank you for that. And I know, Jody, you responded to the other question in the chat regarding tracking. How are you tracking these hours? You mentioned a few things there. Apryl, if you're there, I don't know if you would want to share how you are tracking.
So our individual hours. Yes.
Yeah, the internship hours.
Yeah. So we are in the program that I shared specifically today. The instructor is doing a lot of hour capturing for them because it's so directly tied to his program.
One of the things we're looking at adding, and I don't know if Apryl, you guys do this, especially down in like Commodore manufacturing and those types of like workplaces, we're going to add like a time clock. Mm-hmm. And then that way we'll just have the hours when we have to fill out the enters report, because I think that becomes mostly important when you're getting money for those classes. And so you want to make sure that you have all those things lined out. And so that's one of the things that we're looking at too. And that way nobody has to like really, if they accidentally missed something or whatever, it's just an easy way and it'll all be online.
Yeah. So the instructor would be probably upset with me. One of my favorite parts about his classroom, and I always make him embedded in presentations, and I missed it. He keeps a key performance indicator board right outside. So in between their shop and their lab space, there's a board where he's tracking attendance, the goals, and so he matches it based on their grades to their pay grade for the business. And they celebrate a student of the month there. So really trying to simulate what's happening in the workplace also. So yeah, that's definitely something too. And they are tracking just to keep it real, right? OSHA certifications. They have their violations up, things like that. Luckily, they have none. They're on May 1st, should be celebrating 1,000 days without an OSHA violation in their shop. So just really trying to make it as authentic as possible. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you. And Rebecca, thanks for responding. I see you shared a couple of responses there to some of the questions in the chat. So thank you.
Not a problem.
I'm scrolling down to see where the next question was, where do we start to help CTE teachers be credentialed to offer dual credit in the pathways? Anybody, I don't know if anybody wants to respond to that one or.
Are you connected with like Ivy Tech or Vincent's and any of your other dual credits? That would be my question. And the credentialing for dual credit is different in CTE than it is in the academic and the liberal arts courses. So I would start with one of those colleges and just ask them to help you.
I also just linked in the chat. There's a few resources out there with dual credit credentialing that are on our website through DOE. So I just linked that for you. I know that there's a partnership with also it's UIndy. I think it's linked on there as well to help if you have a teacher that's interested and they don't have the coursework needed. So there are some programs to help with that.
Thank you.
Amanda, there's a question in the chat that I'm happy to answer. And I would say it probably is similar for Jody, but around students completing work-based learning or project-based learning if they're not in a pathway. So for Orleans, there are for freshmen through seniors, there's about 226 students. So because of the school size, almost all of their electives are surrounded by CTE. So I would say every single one of our students is engaging in a pathway.
Thank you, April. And I don't know, Jody, if you wanted to add anything before we go to the next question.
Sorry, I was reading another question and I wasn't.
That's okay. I know they're coming in hot now, right? The next one, she was responding to how are students completing work-based learning and project-based learning if they aren't in a pathway?
Oh, yeah. Well, the work-based learning. So we do have some academic students that aren't and they're not in a pathway. But really all you have to do for that is just have 75 hours work hours. And so, you can make that look however you want. It's just kind of like box 2. But most of our kids, and I was reading a question on here about the Indiana College Core. We have 30 to 40% of our kids earn the Indiana College Core. And all those kids earn the work-based learning hours because they are leaving one day a week on Wednesdays. And so that's a way that we can get that in for them and they can still take all the courses that they need to earn that credential.
Okay, great. And then I'm scrolling down. Are either of the speakers or anyone else setting up their own employment plus guarantees? The current guaranteed currency seems to focus on the Indy area and we are Northeast. Curious if you're talking with your employer partners about this.
We haven't yet, but that's something that I would like to, show we have an advisor board that meets at least 2 times a year. And I usually try to show them what's happening in the state. And so I plan to show them that. And, but we have a lot of kids already getting hired. So I think it'll be, I don't know that we need that 100%.
Okay. High academic students may not be in a pathway due to meeting the requirement via AP dual credit. So how are those students getting work-based learning experience? These kids don't have a lot of time for jobs.
I don't know, April, if you have a different way that,
So with the program I talked about today, I gave the example Orleans is very small, and so a lot of their electives are pathways. So even our high academic students are engaging in a pathway just based on to fill their electives. At some of the other districts that I serve, we also have a similar program to your healthcare one that's happening between Mitchell and Shoals. And I find that a lot of our high achieving students are using that pathway as a stackable. So they feel like if they're earning the CNA certification or their CCMA through Ivy Tech, they're using that really as a resume booster, right? But then stackable into something else. We are finding, right, last year our CNA class had 12 students, right? We were talking about much smaller schools than some that are on the call, but 12 students, and of the 12, 8 of them were in the academic top 10. So there is for us a complement to students earning the ICC, students earning the CNA or CCMA, and using those and kind of braiding those together for post-secondary.
yeah, we're similar. And I think a good point that you just made, April, is like our kids are the same. They don't have any electives that are not pathways. And we've kind of done that on purpose because we know that they need those experiences.
Great. And Rebecca, thanks for sharing an updated document there.
Gotta love when people move stuff and we don't find out.
Happens
So
all the time, right?
I'll work on getting that updated on the website, but I at least got you the updated link. Sorry about that.
Perfect. Let's see. Okay. I see question and answer there. I think Kate and Michelle maybe answered that question. Did I miss any questions as I was scrolling down? Anybody? Holler if I missed your question, please.
I know, I was trying to keep an eye on it too, and I was like scrolling back up and I got out of track. So yeah, if we missed something, please bump it again, or you can unmute if that's easier.
Rewrite it there. Do we have guidance from the state that exemplifies what experiences can count for work-based learning? We have 800 seniors with about 1/3 at least being high academic, so they are not in pathway classes.
Sure. There is some specifics on the full diploma rule around the work-based learning. Let me see if I can find it real quick. We will have further guidance coming on work-based learning experiences, and we've had some great examples today, but I think we'll have more of those coming. We'll be working with the Indiana Learning Lab this summer to continue to put out further guidance. But thank you, ladies, for sharing what you're doing at your school is amazing. But I will see if I can find that specific wording in the lovely long full diploma rule if you want to read it in all of your spare time. But
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think I can share it because I just was on a call yesterday with IESP. And are you looking for the definition of work-based learning?
yes, I think it's at the top of the rule. I'm scrolling through here trying to find it real quick.
I'm gonna copy and paste what I have, and it might be different.
Okay, perfect. You probably have the same thing I do.
Okay, and as you're looking for that, we have a few questions that just popped
Yes.
in. I have heard that you cannot get work-based learning from more than 3 workplaces, or that you have to have at least 25 hours at each place. Is this accurate?
I have heard the 3. Michelle, I don't know if you want to chime in a little bit. But I don't think there was an hour requirement at each place, or again, that guidance may still be coming. Let us double check on that, because I don't want to make it advise you wrongly, but
So Flora oversees a lot of the work-based learning conversation. That's why Rebecca and I aren't in those conversations always, but they are working on a work-based learning guidance document that will have the definition of work-based learning. It will have, all the guardrails for work-based learning. And hopefully that is released soon, would be my hope.
And Michelle and Rebecca, somebody had asked me directly if they have questions about this seal specifically or work-based learning. Would Flora be the person to email for those questions?
specifically work-based learning, but
Work-based learning, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, you can send it to the student pathways, and poor Rebecca is helping us get out of that get out of that mailbox, but we kind of all divvy up the questions per our expertise. Yeah.
Would one of you put that email in the chat so then people know who to, if there's anything after today that they need to reach out? Okay, perfect. And then, oh, somebody put in the work-based learning definition. Thank you. This is a team effort here. Perfect. Work-based learning guidance being worked on. Do we know if summer work will count? And can we count hours over the 4 years of high school? I think somebody responded to that.
I did. You can count
Yeah.
all that. I would just have some kind of document. They just need to document it somehow, what they're doing.
Perfect. Okay. Email, thank you, Michelle, for the email for follow-up questions. Are any of the speakers today utilizing EARN for any of their work-based learning experiences? If so, is it popular?
I haven't used it yet, but we plan to use it at Perry Central as we hire our assistants and the people that we hire here. I've shared that with our community, with our businesses, and nobody's really taken us up on it, and that's fine. But we do plan to use it at Perry Central. We would be the employer.
We're exactly like that too. So our employers are not really taking advantage of that, but our districts are.
And then Jody, there's a question directly to you in the chat. I don't know if you saw that. Do you co-enroll the students in 7156 to get the work-based learning through the PBL for CTE concentrator courses?
I don't know what that course is, 7156 to get through the PBL for CTE. No. What is 71? I have to know what that is. I don't have those numbers.
Cynthia, do you want to put what that is in the chat? And then I think she had a follow-up question. Oh, technical skills development?
Yes. Okay. Yes, we do. So thank you. Yeah. So the first year, if we like in construction, we have the second and third year are blocks. So the first year we'll use technical skill development, but you can only use that for 2 credits. And then the second year, we were using work-based learning, and all the kids had a training plan. This next year, we're going to use capstone because we've moved teachers around, and we're going to actually be able to teach the capstone credits. So we'll use that as the blocking courses.
Okay. How do you log the work-based learning with inters for the core content courses they get work-based learning through with the PBL?
So if you're talking about the workplace challenges, those I don't really count that as we haven't counted that as a work-based learning, like those hours. It's just a way that we're trying to introduce work-based learning and get our companies engaged. So we only use work-based learning course code if they are actually in an internship with their pathway or part of a career pathway that has work-based learning, like building a house or working in commodore manufacturing.
Okay. And I'm seeing that we have 4 minutes left, so we may be able to answer another question or two. If anybody wants to respond to the question from Sam, do your students use CSA funding to help with transportation? Anybody can respond to that if you have your students utilize those funds. And then if our speakers, if either of you know that if your students use those funds.
Our students, not in Bulldog manufacturing, but that are participating in the Modern Youth Apprenticeship. So our model is called Upskill in our region. Our students that are participating in that are utilizing CSA accounts.
We just started. I signed up 2 students, and this is my first go at it, so I don't know how it's going to work. But that's in our kind of like our Modern Youth Apprenticeship with Perry County Memorial Hospital. But I have not used the transportation.
Okay. Good, but it's a good resource for those who aren't aware that those funds are there. We actually did a webinar on that, I think in the fall. So if anybody who's not familiar with those funds, we can maybe share that out in a follow-up email. Somebody asked about purely virtual students. Is there any kind of plan or guidance for them? And this may be our last question that we try and get to. Anybody heard anything on that?
For us, we're to get our kids through a career pathway. We have one path. If you're fully virtual and you're with us, you can only get a business pathway, and they're probably just gonna get that main diploma. So we're not really. It's just too hard to get them everything that they need if they're 100% virtual from Perry Central.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, last question, promise. Do we know from the state yet how schools will be evaluated in regards to students earning the seals? If anybody?
I don't know about accountability, but but I think this passed this week, so don't hold me to it because it could change. But anybody that earns the Honors Plus seals, the schools will get $2,500. It's for sure the Academic Honors Plus. So they are incentivizing seals. So we're going to try to get as many kids through seals at either level as possible.
There will be an updated accountability because, again, as you know, with COVID, we've not had letter grades for years, but that hasn't been determined what that's going to look like yet. As you can imagine, that'll be a huge undertaking. I don't know if Michelle, you know anything more than that, but I just know from legislation, accountability was part of the new diploma requirement or process, but we just don't know what it'll look like yet.
Yeah, it's still in process. Like they're still holding public comment and things of that nature. So it hasn't been determined yet.
Okay. Stay tuned, right? We'll all be sitting at the edge of our seats for that. Okay, Samantha put in some resource there in the chat. And then we will stay on here for a couple of minutes here as we close out. I don't know if anybody has any responses to the remaining questions in the chat, but if not, I will pull that transcript and share it with people on the call, and then we'll see if we can follow up with any answers to questions that we weren't able to get to today. But for the sake of time, our presenters, thank you again so much. Great information. You are both doing awesome work. So thanks for being willing to share it with all of us. Do want to mention very quickly our next webinar in this series. We're going to be talking about enlistment. That is April 30th. Registration is live and linked here if you want to join us for that one. PGP link is in that last slide if you want to fill out a very short evaluation to receive PGP for today's attendance. And then finally, our upcoming April, May remaining webinars that we have scheduled. If you want to click on the link to be taken to more information and registration for those. Last but not least, Keep Indiana Learning is offering a summer conference in June, KinnellCon. It's in Noblesville. So if you want to join us for that, we will have some counselor specific sessions or a strand for counselors. So there will be some good content for you. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us. And we hope to see everybody on April 30th. Take care, everybody.